Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. Free File can make taxes easier for seniors and retirees. COVID tax tip 2021-19, February 16th, 2021. In times like these, every penny counts. This is especially true for taxpayers on a fixed income. Many of these are seniors and retirees who can file their taxes for free. So we have the Free File tax software here. You can go to the Free File link. The Free File link will go through kind of like an interview process on the IRS website. You can also find that by going to the IRS website at IRS.gov, IRS.gov, search for Free File. And basically what happens there is it looks to me like the government has kind of incentivized the third-party providers in some way, shape, or form to be providing a free portion to their software to certain taxpayers. For example, taxpayers that have incomes below a certain type of threshold. So many of the main third-party providers, such as a TurboTax, have free options for people who have fairly basic returns that will typically be under a certain threshold, although all their offers are not the same. Therefore, you could go to the IRS website here, and that'll help you to kind of sort out the different third-party filers and what free offers they have. Then that will take you to the third-party software, such as a TurboTax or something like that, where you may be able to file then your tax returns for free. And this is really good. Obviously, the IRS is going to like this a lot because that means more people can file the tax returns, especially people that might be in a lower income situation or have fairly basic tax returns that it might not be necessary for them to get a tax preparer, even though if they had to file by hand, they may still need to do so because it's kind of complicated to file a tax return by hand. If you have the software with an interview type of process, then a fairly basic tax return can be done fairly easily. I would assume the IRS also likes this because that incentivizes people to be using the software that will be electronically filed, which is something they're going to be pushing more and more now, especially with the COVID-19, and have the direct deposit options as well. So they're hoping that people will use the Free File software, do the electronic filing, even for basic type of returns, and then be issuing for the direct deposit information so they could send the refund as quick as possible. It is obviously a whole lot easier to use tax software than to basically try to populate the form on your own. So we have the Free File offers online tax preparation, direct deposit of refunds, and electronic filing. Here are some facts about Free File programs to help these taxpayers determine which one fits their needs. The IRS urges all taxpayers to file electronically and choose direct deposit to get their refund faster and avoid pandemic-related paper delays. So obviously, again, the IRS is trying to get everybody to do the electronic filing as much as possible. That's why having an option for these third-party providers of software for individuals who may not want to pay for tax preparation, they probably shouldn't have to, given the fact that they have a fairly basic tax return. It's a really good tool in those cases because, again, you can use that tool for the electronic filing and for giving the information for the direct deposit information, which are the things that the IRS is really pushing for. IRS Free File is available on IRS.gov and features brand name tax software providers. So again, the IRS website, the IRS, in other words, is not the one providing the software. The IRS and the government are probably the ones that are, working or pressuring in some way or incentivizing in some way the third-party providers of the software to provide a free option for those that qualify for it, typically the free option being for those that have an income limit that is below a certain threshold. So you can go to the IRS website in order to kind of sort out through those offers that are provided by the third-party providers, then go to the third-party providers and pick the one that you want. In doing so, or when doing so, I would kind of go with the big brand name type ones first, the ones I recognize, like a TurboTax or something like that, which is owned by Intuit. I'm not promoting them in any ways. It's just a name that is more familiar to me. But because they are more familiar, they may have a lower threshold in terms of the income limitations to make a free offer. And some of the ones that you may not know quite as well may have a higher threshold, meaning their free offer extends further than possibly the bigger name items. So if you qualify for the bigger name one, you might want to use that one because it's probably more tested over time. If not, then you choose whichever one will work. So Free File offers the Form 1040SR option for seniors over the age of 65. There's a link to the Form 1040SR here. Taxpayers can browse the offers or use the lookup tool to help them find the right product. So when you go to the IRS website, you can then just browse the different offers that are provided by the third-party providers. Again, it looks like the IRS kind of said, hey, we would really like you guys to give a free, portion to people that have incomes under a certain threshold. And then basically the providers have some ability to fluctuate what that free portion will be. So they have different kind of restrictions, different AGI limitations, different state requirement limitations. Therefore, if you need to have a state tax return along with the federal tax return, make sure that you are picking up a tax software that will meet both those obligations. Many of them do offer many state tax returns, different regulations with regards to the earned income tax credit, for example, which is one of the more complex tax credits. Therefore, if you think you're going to qualify for the earned income tax credit, refundable credits can be more complex, such as that one. Then make sure that the offer that you have is looking into that as well. If you use their little lookup tool, that'll go through a little interview process that will then limit the amount of the softwares and try to pick the one that will best fit your needs. So each Free File partner sets its own eligibility standards. These are generally based on income, age, and state residency. So once again, the third-party providers are gonna fluctuate with regards to the requirements for them to file the tax return for free with them. And those things that will fluctuate will typically be the amount of your income, possibly age, and the state residency, because that would dictate that you possibly need a state tax return, which would add to the level of complexity. So all taxpayers whose adjusted gross income was $72,000 or less will find at least one free product to use. So the IRS basically set this threshold of $72,000 adjusted gross income, which is pretty high. So if you're under that threshold, then you should be able to find some offer that would be free, meaning, there's going to be some provider that's going to have that hits that. Probably not the big name ones, like an Intuit probably isn't going to be going that high, right? Because, they might have a lower threshold. So you might not have the biggest brand name ones that would be up to a $72,000 net income that would be free. But apparently there's at least one that is on there. I think there's one called Tax Slayer, which is a great name, which has a higher threshold. So you can go for Tax Slayer software. But in any case, some Free File products are available in Spanish as well. There's also MilTax online software, so is also available to certain veterans regardless of income and is offered through the Department of Defense. So if you have military income or something like that, or benefits or whatnot, you might want to be using the MilTax online software. There's going to be a whole lot of different kind of benefits that are there if you're in the armed services or something like that. If you have been, then thank you for your service. And you probably want to make sure that whatever advice you are getting, that you're dealing with someone who has experience with those types of benefits, and the software having experience with those types of benefits as well. So there's actually a lot of options out there to kind of get advice. You might want to look around and see if you could find some areas to get possibly even free tax advice for that situation, to make sure, again, that you're taking advantage of all the benefits that are available to you. So Free File supports all the major forms that can be filed electronically. This means that even if someone's tax return is a bit more complex, they can usually still find a free offer. Using Free File can help people to find valuable credits and deductions, including the recovery or rebate credit. So note, obviously, if you do a tax preparer, a paid tax preparer, even if they're very knowledgeable about the tax code, they still use tax software to help out with the process. And the tax software that's set up for individuals is usually set up more as like an interview type process. So it really helps to reduce the amount of errors that you might do if you're trying to do the tax return by hand, and touch on certain things that you may not think about if you weren't prompted to think about it through the interview process, such as the recovery rebate credit. The recovery rebate credit is one reason why the IRS is expecting many more tax returns to be filed in 2020, especially on the low income side of things, because the recovery rebate credit is the way that you can adjust for any problems that happen with the earned income, with the economic impact payments. So round 1 and round 2 of the economic impact payments went out in 2020. They are basically prepayments of what we're calling the recovery rebate credit, which is tied to the 2020 tax return. So if there was any problem with the economic impact payments, if, in other words, you got less than you should have got based on the 2020 information, which is quite possible given the fact that they sent out the prepayment based on prior information, but they should have been fairly accurate because it's a fairly straightforward kind of deduction, but there's certain areas where they could have gotten it wrong, such as an AGI, like an income phase-out situation, or you were a dependent last year and you're not a dependent this year and so on, or they just didn't have your information for whatever reason, and you got to file the tax return in order to pick that up. Luckily, again, even if you're not required to file tax returns in prior years, you don't know how to do it and whatnot, you can use the electronic filing, which should make that process easier and make it for free if you get this free file offers to do so. So if you know anyone that didn't get the proper recovery rebate credit, they're not usually filing, then you might want to, let them know that they could possibly pick it up and possibly do it for free, possibly get the software in order to do it in an interview process that should make it fairly easy to do the tax return. If someone is eligible for a recovery rebate credit and either didn't receive an economic impact payment or received less than the full amounts, they must file a 2020 tax return to claim their credit, even if they didn't usually file. So even if you do not usually file, they might be in a situation where you need to file at this point in time in order to pick up that credit if you want to pick up the credit, which is basically the same thing as the economic impact payments. Taxpayers should receive the recovery rebate credit for more information. So you can go to the link here for the recovery rebate credit FAQs, frequently asked questions. Free file providers also offer state tax preparation, some for free and some for a fee. Taxpayers can also use the lookup tool to find the right state product. So remember that when you're looking at those lookup tool, right here we're on the IRS website. That's the Fed. The Fed and the state do not talk to each other all the time, although they'd have some talking to each other, right? So just because they're both government agencies, sometimes people think that they are somehow talk to each other, but no, you're dealing with the Fed over here versus the state. And when you do the tax software, you got to make sure that you want to do both the tax returns at the same time would be great. And so make sure that you're looking up any state obligations that you need and picking the software that will do those state obligations for you. You can look up those obligations or the tax software and what they will cover on the IRS website, and then go to the third-party software. So taxpayers can use their computer, smartphone, or tablet to do their taxes, which is just incredible to me. I cannot imagine doing my taxes on the phone, on a smartphone. It seems like a very small thing to try to figure my taxes out, but I'm sure a lot of people do that, and you can do that now if you want to. They just need to go to the free file page on IRS.gov on their device. All free file products can be used on mobile devices.